interest in particular, my love of the Spanish language. It all began with the intrepid Raquel Rodriguez of Destino, Spain. She of the huge shoulder pads and slow conjugation of Spanish verbs. I understand from Senora Rogers that Destinos is still an important part of the curriculum here. But for those of you who are not familiar with it, this series features a bilingual female lawyer who sets out to solve a Mexican inheritance mystery while at the same time single-handedly teaching thousands of high schoolers the difference between por and para. I was completely captivated by this show and really by almost everything in my Spanish classes at Pingree. In addition to the Spanish language, I wanted to learn everything about the culture, the food, and the people. My time at Pingree was before the Barcelona exchange program, but that didn't stop me from organizing a 2-week trip to Spain after graduation with my Pingree friends and teachers. It was my first time ever leaving the country, and I loved it. When I started college that fall, I took every Spanish course imaginable, from Spanish film to important women in Mexican history. I spent a summer working for the Consulate of Mexico in Boston. I received a citation in Spanish, which is Harvard's fancy word for a minor. When I applied for law school during my senior year, I wrote my application essay about how I wanted to somehow intertwine my passion for the Spanish language with my interest in the law. After getting into law school and graduating from college, I won a scholarship to spend 2 weeks in Spain taking classes about gender and terrorism. Those were 2 separate classes. Just as my Pingree trip to Spain was my first time traveling out of the country, my post-college trip to Spain was my first time traveling alone. Even though I made many Spanish friends in my courses, I learned a lot about myself as a solo traveler and gained confidence in my Spanish skills. But once I got to law school, I got caught up in the fast-track recruiting process like many young lawyers, trying to take ambitious classes with famous professors that will score you a big law firm job right out of law school. Although my academic focus shifted toward the law, I never really abandoned my interest in Spanish, and I continued to take elective classes during law school. But once I landed a law firm job, it was hard to find ways to continue to practice Spanish, and I got frustrated no longer being able to do what I enjoyed. All of this changed in 2006, when I went on a cruise with my family that included a stop in San Juan, Puerto Rico. As soon as I stepped off the boat and saw the charming port of Old San Juan with its colorful little houses, I knew I'd love to live there. And I was struck with a great idea. Why not apply to clerk for a judge in Puerto Rico? After all, since Puerto Rico is a Commonwealth of the United States, it has federal courts on the island. The idea seemed crazy at first, especially to my parents. I'd never lived away from Boston before, and to be honest, I'm not really a hot weather person. So spending a few years alone without my family in the tropics did not seem logical. It would also involve leaving a very secure law firm job that I'd worked hard to get. At this point, I thought back to my interest in Spanish, stemming from my days at Pingree. I thought to myself, what would Raquel Rodriguez do in this situation? I knew that working for a judge would be great for my resume, even if I couldn't go back to my old job. I also knew that it would be good for me to live away from home. If not at age 26, then when would I ever do it? I secretly sent out applications to 8 judges. Although some federal judges only hire Puerto Rican clerks, I was lucky to score 3 interviews. My best friend from Pingree, Melissa Small, came down with me for a vacation while I interviewed. When I showed up for my interview with Judge Jaime Pieras, his law clerk told me he was out sick. I knew from my research that he was 85 years old, so this made me slightly concerned about the job security of this clerkship. It's just a cold, she reassured me. However, she also warned me that this judge is known for his outspoken antics and hot temper, in addition to his great legal mind and aptitude for settling even the most difficult cases. After being interviewed by his law clerk and by 2 judges who subbed in for him, I received a call the following Monday that he'd selected me as his law clerk. This would mean helping him with all aspects of being a judge, from preparing him for conferences with lawyers to actually helping him write the decisions. Once I received this offer, I was excited but terrified. Could I really go through with this huge move and career change? The judge's response to me was, "You have 1 afternoon to decide. There are 5 other people in line for this job, so if you don't want it, I'll just move on to the next." Talk about pressure. Hearing that I would regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't accept, I called right back and took the job. And it was the best decision I've ever made. So in September of 2007, I packed up all of my belongings, including my Havanese puppy, Javier, who's in the picture, and made the solo move to San Juan. This meant leaving behind my job, my family and friends, and the amazing boyfriend I'd met just months before moving, which everyone told me would happen. My first weeks in Puerto Rico were anything but easy. My initial landlord never showed up to give me the keys, leaving me standing on the sidewalk with 2 huge suitcases. I quickly learned how important it is to have good neighbors, and also to have a working understanding of the Spanish language if you want to live in Old San Juan. Even the smallest tasks seemed confusing and overwhelming. Why did Puerto Ricans have crazy words for everything? Raquel Rodriguez never told me that buses are guaguas in Puerto Rico, and oranges are not naranjas, but chinas. I don't think Senora Rogers ever told us that either. Despite all of these challenges, I thrived. Although the court's decisions were written in English, I practiced Spanish every day, with everyone from court witnesses to the man at the convenience store, basically everyone who would listen to me. I had managed to find the perfect way to follow in my interests and develop my career path. 2 years went by very quickly. The amazing boyfriend from Boston moved to Puerto Rico, got a job at the court, and soon became an amazing fiancé. He also brought along his giant Labrador, and our family soon expanded to include a Sato, a Puerto Rican street puppy. In addition to practicing Spanish during my clerkship, I was also exposed to all different kinds of cases. I quickly learned that I enjoyed the employment discrimination cases the best. As my time in Puerto Rico was coming to an end, I focused my search on law firms that specialize in employment law, and that's what I'm practicing happily today. Although I do not have as many opportunities to speak Spanish as I did in Puerto Rico, I still find ways to nurture my interest. For instance, I'm taking salsa classes right now. The reason I tell you this story is not to encourage you to leave behind all of your studies and head to the Caribbean, tempting as it may be. My point is that you never know where your studies or your career may lead you, but if you're following your interests and your heart, you can't go wrong. If Pingree is anything like the place it was in 1998, I'm sure that it has provided you with a supportive atmosphere to try new activities, travel to foreign places, and meet fascinating people every day. You should seize this opportunity to determine what your true interests are, because you never know where they may lead you in life. Also, I credit my experience at Pingree with instilling in me the confidence to take these risks. Thinking back, my time at Pingree was all about trying new things and learning to accept challenges. For instance, AP US History with Mr. Glessner was certainly a challenge for a high school junior. But by daring to engage in discussions about topics that are typically reserved for first-year law students, I took an important step in preparing for my college classes. Did I make some ridiculous arguments in that class? Probably. As a lawyer, am I still called upon to support a far-fetched argument? Basically every day. So I applied these thinking on my feet skills that I learned at Pingree to my job. At first, I first picked them up right here at Pingree, and I think that when you enter college, you will realize that you're better prepared than a lot of your peers because of the classes and the experiences that you had here at Pingree. As a closing thought, in addition to congratulating the inductees today, I would also like to take a moment to congratulate those of you who are succeeding every day at Pingree in other ways, starring in the school play, scoring goals in field hockey games, doing community service, or maybe even just being a thoughtful friend to someone in need. There are certainly many success stories at Pingree that go unrecognized, but are nonetheless just as important. Along those lines, although I look back with extreme pride upon being inducted into the Cum Laude Society, I also look back with pride at other smaller successes, such as participating in a summer production at Pingree of Fiddler on the Roof. Notice I said participating, not starring. Not even a solo line in a song. I believe it was the summer after my freshman year, and I'd never done any theater before. It seemed like a good idea at the time to sign up for Fiddler. After all, there was no tryout. Despite my lack of experience, I was sure I'd be picked to play one of Tevye's 5 daughters. Forget it. I was selected to play one of the many townspeople, second from left in the back. But my memories of this play stand out clearly in my head, since I learned many new things. My first stage cues, the importance of being on time for rehearsal, and what it was like to be part of a cast. I certainly didn't win any Academy Awards for my performance, and it was actually the last time I ever did any theater. But you know what? I have fond memories of my small successes in this play, such as learning not to be nervous on stage, a skill I'm desperately trying to call upon today. I think we all need to reflect more on these small successes that contribute to our overall life experiences at Pingree and beyond. Thank you again for inviting me today, and I wish you all the best of luck.